I'm going to talk a little bit about how to use this symbol, pound NA, just like this, within your cells and why it's important. So there may be days where you don't have data for a particular behavior. You didn't collect data, or you may be running skill acquisition programs, and there's a day that you don't have data for that date. Instead of leaving it blank, you're going to want to put in this symbol in order to keep your data path a continuing data path. So for 1216, if we didn't have data that day and I just delete it, it disconnects my data path for some reason. However, if I put in pound NA, it keeps it connected and didn't have data for that day. Now this, you have to use this particular formula. If you put in no data, Excel treats that text as a 0, and that makes it look like maybe you had 0 aggressions that day, when actually you didn't have data collected on that day. So it's really important that you use this for any place where you didn't have data collected. It's really a good rule of thumb to use it in anywhere in your columns where you haven't added data yet. So honestly, I would put it in here, up in these 2 columns, and down here for as long as you're going to go. And this just ensures that nothing gets put in that column until you enter data, and also that it wouldn't be left blank for any reason. You may also want to specify why you don't have data for that day. So here in this column where we have pound NA, we might just want to be able to go back and reference, well, what happened that day. So if you select the cell and go into insert, you can go to new comment, and that opens this little text box. And you can put in training instructor on protocol. And that way you just know that you have a little reference there. You'll see a little red triangle at the top of it, and if you hover over it, it will give you your comment. You can also go in, if you need to edit a comment, you can select that cell now, insert, and go in and edit that comment with something different if you need to. So that's just a simple way to leave yourself notes within a spreadsheet without having to use these extra columns. The other thing you might want to do is make a note inside of your graph. So let's say on this day, which is 1214, you weren't seeing a big enough decrease in aggression, and so you ran a preference assessment and you added new toys that they earned in the reinforcement intervals. So you haven't changed the DRA, the actual treatment, but you may have modified it a little bit, and you want to make a note in the graph. Again, on 1213, you can add it over here, 1214. You can add it right here as inserting a new comment. Ran preference assessment and added toys. But you may want to denote it in your graph if you feel like it made a significant difference, just to be able to reference that. And this is when you would, again, add a data label, but we're going to leave it with that data point. So slowly double click so that you just have that one data point selected. Control Command click. We're going to add a data label. And again, the data labels by default will just say what the data value is. So in this example, it's 3. And I'm just going to put new toys. And then because of the formatting here, I want it to just hover over this data point. I'm actually going to format the data label. So you can go up here to format, or you can Control Command, format data label, and go down to text box, and we will talk about what text direction we want. So again, go down to here and rotate 90 degrees. And then we have it just over this data point. And then as you add more data, when this data path continues to move to the left as you're packing in more data, this data label will stay right with this data point. You're not going to have to move it around or figure out what it's referencing at that point.